Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel. Time to build a differential. So I'm gonna set this aside, and usually I use a rag, a cloth, but I think I'm just gonna use a oh no, I'll just, yeah, I've got another one over there. Let me just use this. And I need to figure out my fluid. So if you guys will give me a minute, I'm going to pause. Okay, time to assemble the differential. I took a moment there to just kind of go through my build sheet, my personal build sheet. And just kind of fill in how things were coming together so far and some of the settings I know I'm going to be using. I've got my C and D block settings, all the stuff that we've already done for the front end, and using a gear diff with 10,000 weight fluid. And I've got some factory team associated fluid. So I'm going to use theirs. It's a nice big bottle full, so might as well start with that. I've got a few grades below and above, 8,000, 7,000, 12,500, 15. I think I've also got 11. So I can play with this depending on what I want. I saw a few that were running the gear diffs that went up as high as 20,000, but that car was running on a carpet track. So, you know, I figured that's probably not where I wanted to go. So I went down to the one. Some people were running as low as like 7, but a bunch of them were running 10. That seemed to be the one that was most people were using 10,000. So that's going to be my starting point, and I'll work from there. But this is how you figure things out, and this is how you learn your car. You got to make sure that you keep these records. I've got, you know, a handful of blank ones already waiting for, you know, when I go to the track, I'll go ahead and mark this up, any changes that I make. And when I go to the track the next time, I'll have, you know, I'll take a fresh sheet, I'll write all the numbers down so it's nice and clean. And then I'll make any edits that I need to as I adjust the car. I'm pretty much going to be racing at one of 2 locations off-road, and I may at least initially just focus on one location instead of bouncing from track to track, and just try to work that one track, whichever one of the 2 that I choose. And you know, that way I'm learning and incrementally tuning based on the same location, and that'll help, you know, kind of figure this out without, you know, guesswork all the time. So let's see, we've got some really small O-rings here. Look at the size of that little thing. So I'm not sure where those go yet. There's 4 of them, and there are 4 screws, so I assume that they are going to be used somewhere either here or in here for those 4 screws, or they may be for these gears. I don't know. And you know what, I'm going to see if I can find some instructions on the gear build. I'm wondering if maybe they have an auxiliary in here. I don't think they do, though. Thought maybe they had the build sheet. Okay, I'll get one offline and print it out. Okay, this is the supplement. Actually, it's not a supplement. This is actually pages 10 and 11 from the B6.2, which is the RC10 2-wheel drive buggy, and it's the same generation as this truck. Both of them are 6.2s. Usually the buggies are done first, and then their new tech kind of trickles down into the short course truck and the stadium truck. It just kind of depends. In any event, I see exactly where those go. If you look at our little gears here, you can see there's a space right there. We have one O-ring for each of these gears in between the gear and the shim. So here is our build. We use some black grease, and it's really nice to see some of the techniques I kind of use that I've kind of logicked out for myself over the years coming into play here. Like a lot of times I use grease when I'm putting together, like I put grease on my out drives. If you look at some of my diff builds from previous kits, you'll see that I make sure that these parts that are, you know, metal on metal or plastic on metal, I'll pre-lube them with some grease instead of relying on the diff fluid to provide that lubrication. So what they want us to do is put some grease on basically on the shafts here with the O-rings, and the O-rings go in between our shims and our gears. And then we have our two other O-rings which go onto our out drives, 1 and 2. And as you can see, in case we weren't 100% sure, the diff case cap has 3 prongs or keys, however you want to describe them, instead of 4. So we know we're working with the correct diff, aside from the fact that we've got the 4 O-rings. So excellent. I trimmed the edges of this so it's going to fit inside the manual properly and not get all dog-eared, and stapled it up, and that is going to ride with this manual forever. So okay, this is associated diff lube, but this is for ball diff, so we don't need this. But we do need some black grease, and it's TLR, no biggie. So let's start by getting a little bead of grease down along the bottom here. Don't need a lot of it. And if you notice, there is a small groove cut in there for our O-ring to seat into. I'm putting a lot in there, just enough that it's going to really cover that O-ring. I'll wipe off any excess that comes through. And we also want to make sure that there's some on the inside where the metal is going to rub against the plastic. I'm going to take just a wee little bit, and I'm just going to rub it on both sides. You know, it's not enough to really, you're not like really seeing it, but there's a little bit of a film there, and that will help. There we go. Handy little screwdriver. There we go. So now we need one of our 2 pins. And needle nose pliers. And you kind of want to line up on one of these slots that kind of twist the out drive so the hole is facing into one of them, and then you can kind of angle that in. we go. Perfect. Okay. And now I'm going to put a little bit of lube. Just get it on my finger and wipe it across the surface that's going to run against the shim there. Again, you don't need a lot. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and prep the other end over here and then do the spider. There we go. There's a little cutaway there. Slide it into the cutaway and that helps you line up. There we go. Slides right in. Okay, that's all ready to go. And I was gonna change my diff fluid. Let's go 8. Okay. Considering how involved this is and how much grease I'm using, I'm glad that I didn't do this on paper towels. I did it on a lint-free cloths. These are just cheap and so handy. You just get them at the auto parts store in a big bag. Now we need 1 O-ring per. There we go. Now I will worry about the shims as the very last step, because those will just fall off as I'm working my way around here. And see, if you know, when you get the grease on your fingertips, it actually helps to do these O-rings. You just touch the O-ring and it sticks to the tip of your finger. And they go right on. You know what? I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to set it down. First, I want to see how much diff fluid they want me to put in here. So let's get a look at that. Okay, fill to top of the cross pins. So that's simple enough. What we want to do though is we want to make sure that the diff fluid gets into all of the little cracks and crevices there. And it shouldn't be too hard with 8,000. If this was like 50,000 or 150,000, that stuff is like putty almost. It's so thick. and it's hard to make sure it gets everywhere and you don't have air bubbles trapped under the gears, things like that. So I go ahead and kind of stir that in there so it gets into all the corners. A little more. Okay, so now I want to kind of spool this around a little bit, because you can see it wasn't getting into those corner spots over there. At least not right away. Okay, one thing to kind of do, it's hard to do without a third hand, is hold the screwdriver with 2 fingers, the diff with your thumb and finger, and kind of press down on that center piece, and then roll the gears a little bit from below with your other hand, because if you don't hold it down like this, the gears are going to rise up. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we've got the diff lube where as much as we need. I think I need to pull a little out, so I'm just gonna dab at it with the screwdriver just a little bit at a time. It looks pretty good. I think I am where I want it to be. So now we got to put on our gasket. Let's do that aligning of those little dimples. They don't mention it, but okay. So the top dimples up here, the center dimple is in between these two right there. There's my center dimple there. I'll go ahead and put the gasket on like this. Having those little keys really makes putting this diff together easy. Sometimes getting the gasket lined up on some kits is such a pain, and this is really nice. I have a feeling this is a, yep, it's a 1.5. Remember, don't tighten down. You want to do a star pattern. As much of a star pattern as you can do with only 4 screws. Definitely don't over tighten. Oh, that's nice. Love it. Oh, that is so smooth. See, this is the nice thing about good hardware. It is such a joy to work with. I was building 2 diffs last night for the DMX10. It's kind of a basher that I picked up out of, it's one of those cars that comes from China. It's a ZD Racing. Decent car. It's for the money, it's very nice. But the diffs weren't assembled well, even though it's supposed to be ready to run. And instead of having 4 gears, it had 2. And it's just not as smooth. It doesn't have the balance that, you know, 4 gears has. I mean, this is just, it's luxurious. It's so plush. I mean, it's firm. It's a good diff action. But at the same time, it's just buttery smooth. I'm just sitting here, just like, it's like a fidget tool or something, or a fidget toy. So now I need to correct my build sheet immediately. I put in 8,000, not 10,000. See, forgetting to do stuff like that, then you get out to a track a week later and you have no idea what's in there. And so if you're not happy with the diff, you don't know which direction to go. Okay, so this supplement is going to get tucked in. I'm just going to slide it in the back for now. Okay, time to assemble the transmission. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.